The massive ship drifted through space like a crystal cathedral. Its walls glowed with soft blue light, and strange symbols moved across its surface like living things. Inside the ship, Ambassador stood before a huge window, watching the small blue planet grow larger. Earth looked so peaceful from space. White clouds swirled around green and brown continents. The Ambassador had seen many worlds like this before. Most of them were home to young civilizations that needed guidance. The Galactic Council had been helping new species for over 1,000 years. Was proud of this work. The Council now had 47 different species living together in peace. There were no wars between worlds. No one went hungry. Every species shared their knowledge and helped each other grow stronger. The Ambassador's assistant, a tall being with silver skin, approached carefully. "Sir, we are receiving many radio signals from the planet. The beings down there call themselves humans." Nodded. "What do the signals tell us about them?" "They seem to be divided into many groups, different languages, different governments. They appear to fight among themselves quite often." The assistant paused. "But they also create beautiful music and art. They send messages of love to each other across great distances." This was normal. Young civilizations were always messy before they joined the Council. The Ambassador remembered when his own people were like this, long ago. War and peace, love and hate, all mixed together. The Council would help them grow beyond such things. "Prepare the standard first contact message," said. "Make sure it is broadcast in all their major languages." The message was simple and had worked for centuries. It explained that the Council existed to help all intelligent life. It offered friendship, protection, and knowledge. Most importantly, it promised that no harm would come to anyone. The Council had learned that fear made first contact much harder. Within hours, the message reached Earth. Radio stations around the planet picked up the transmission. Governments held emergency meetings. Scientists worked day and night to decode the alien language. News reporters spoke excitedly about humanity's first contact with aliens. Then came Earth's response. It arrived just 24 hours later, broadcast from multiple points around the planet. The message was short and used simple words that were easy to understand. "Thank you for your offer," the message said. "We appreciate you taking the time to contact us. However, we must politely decline your invitation to join the Galactic Council. We prefer to handle our own affairs. We wish you well in your travels." Stared at the communication device. In over 900 years of diplomatic service, no one had ever simply said no to the Council. Some species had been afraid at first. Others had been suspicious. A few had even been hostile, but no one had ever just politely declined and wished them well. The assistant looked just as confused. Perhaps there was a translation error. Maybe they did not understand what we were offering them. "Send the message again," ordered. "This time, include detailed explanations of Council benefits. Show them what their lives could be like with our technology and protection." The second message was much longer. It included images of beautiful Council worlds where beings lived in harmony. It showed advanced medical technology that could cure any disease. It displayed ships that could travel between stars in days instead of years. It explained how Council membership would end war, hunger, and suffering on Earth forever. Earth's response came even faster this time. "We've seen your materials. Very impressive. Still not interested, but thanks anyway. Please enjoy your stay in our solar system, but keep your distance from our planet." The Ambassador called an emergency meeting with his staff. Representatives from 12 different Council species gathered in the ship's main conference room. They had all worked on first contact missions before. None of them understood what was happening. "Maybe they are afraid of losing their independence," suggested Doctor, a being who looked like a walking tree with golden leaves. "Impossible," replied Captain, whose people resembled large, intelligent bears. We always allow new members to keep their own governments and cultures. The council does not rule anyone. Perhaps they believe they are already strong enough to defend themselves, asked Engineer, a small creature with 6 arms and eyes like black diamonds. Shook his head. Their technology is primitive. They still use chemical rockets to reach their own moon. They have nuclear weapons but no shields to protect against them. A single council defense ship could protect their entire planet. The meeting continued for hours, but no one had answers. Finally, made a decision that surprised everyone. "We will wait," he announced. "We will stay here and observe. Eventually, they will face some problem they cannot solve alone. When that happens, they will ask for our help." This was not the usual way. The council preferred to establish contact quickly and begin the integration process, but was curious. What kind of species would refuse an offer of paradise? What did humans know that the council did not? Days passed, then weeks. The human government seemed to ignore the alien ship completely. Their news reports mentioned the visitors for a few days, then moved on to other topics. People went to work. Children went to school, and life continued exactly as before. From their position in space, the Council ship's sensors watched everything. They saw humans fighting small wars in some places while building hospitals in others. They saw humans create weapons that could destroy cities while writing poems about love. They saw humans lie to each other and then risk their lives to save strangers. "They make no sense," the assistant said one day. "How can they be so violent and so kind at the same time?" Did not answer. He was beginning to think that humans made perfect sense. The question was whether the council could understand that sense before it was too late. Something was coming. The ambassador could feel it in the way his diplomatic instincts whispered warnings. Earth's refusal was not about pride or fear. It was about something much more dangerous. Something the council was not prepared to handle. 3 months had passed since the first contact attempt. Ambassador stood in the ship's garden, a place designed to help diplomats think clearly. Plants from dozens of worlds grew together in perfect harmony, just like the species of the council. Unlike the humans, who continued to confuse everyone. "Sir," his assistant called from the doorway. "The Council High Command is requesting an update." Sighed. How could he explain that humanity had simply refused to talk? The High Command would not understand. In the entire history of the Council, every species had eventually joined. Some took longer than others, but all of them eventually saw the benefits of membership. "Tell them we are making progress," he said finally, "but that humans require a different approach." The assistant nodded and left. Knew he was running out of time. The council expected results. They had invested a lot of resources in this mission. Ships, personnel, time, all spent on bringing one small planet into the galactic community. Maybe the problem was the approach. The first messages had been formal and official. Perhaps humans would respond better to something more personal. Called his cultural experts together. "I want to send them something special, not technology or weapons, something that shows we understand beauty and art." Doctor, the tree-like being, suggested music. All species respond to music. It speaks to emotions that words cannot reach. Within days, the council ship broadcast the most beautiful music in the galaxy. Songs from 47 different worlds, arranged in a symphony that had taken centuries to perfect. The music told the story of the council itself, how different species had come together to create something greater than themselves. Earth listened. Radio telescopes picked up every note. Musicians around the planet tried to recreate the alien melodies. Social media filled with discussions about the incredible beauty of the songs. Then came humanity's response. They sent back music of their own, but instead of one carefully arranged piece, they sent hundreds of different songs. Rock music, classical symphonies, folk songs, jazz, electronic beats, tribal chants, everything mixed together in a chaos that should have sounded terrible. Instead, it was amazing. "How is this possible?" Doctor whispered as they listened. "There is no order to it, no planning, yet somehow it all fits together." Captain, the bear-like being, growled softly. "It sounds like a war and a celebration happening at the same time." The music was followed by another polite message. "Thank you for sharing your beautiful song with us. We hope you enjoy our music as much as we enjoyed yours. We still prefer to remain independent, but we appreciate the cultural exchange." Decided to try gifts next. The Council ship began sending small packages to Earth's major governments: advanced medical scanners that could detect any disease, energy generators that could power entire cities without pollution, communication devices that could send messages instantly across space. Each gift came with a simple note, a small token of friendship from the Galactic Council. The gifts were received, studied, and then politely returned. "These are wonderful examples of your technology," came the response. "However, we cannot accept such valuable items. We have nothing of equal value to give in return. Please keep your gifts, but know that we appreciate the gesture." This was unprecedented. No species had ever refused Council technology. The medical scanners alone could save millions of lives. The energy generators could end their dependence on fossil fuels. Yet humans sent them back as if they were worried about being rude guests. Engineer suggested a different approach. "Maybe they want to feel important. Let us invite them to visit one of our worlds. Show them that they would be welcomed and respected." The invitation was crafted carefully. Humanity would be honored guests on Prime, the Council's most beautiful world. They would see gardens that stretched across continents, cities that floated in crystal-clear skies, and beings from every part of the galaxy living together in perfect peace. "We are grateful for your kind invitation," came Earth's reply. "However, we have a policy against off-world travel at this time. We're sure your planet is beautiful, but we prefer to stay close to home. Perhaps in the future when circumstances change." The Council staff was becoming frustrated. Captain paced around the meeting room like his ancestors might have stalked prey. "They act like they have something better to do than join galactic civilization. What could possibly be more important?" Doctor's golden leaves rustled with confusion. Maybe they are simply too proud to accept help. Some species go through a phase where they believe they are special or chosen. But Engineer had been studying the human responses more carefully. "I do not think it is pride," he said quietly. "Look at how they word their messages. They are not rejecting us because they think we are inferior. They are rejecting us because they think we are unnecessary." Looked up sharply. "What do you mean?" "Every message thanks us politely. They appreciate our music, our gifts, our invitations. But they keep saying they prefer to handle their own affairs and remain independent. It is as if they already have everything they need." This was impossible. The Council's sensors showed clearly that Earth was a primitive world. Humans still fought wars with metal bullets and chemical explosives. They got sick from diseases that Council medicine could cure in minutes. They lived for less than 100 years when Council medical technology could extend that to thousands. Yet they acted like they had some secret advantage that made Council membership unnecessary. Made a decision that would change everything. Begin deep surveillance. I want to know everything about human society. How they make decisions, how they solve problems, how they think. There has to be something we are missing. The surveillance began that night. Invisible Council sensors watched human cities, monitored their communications, and studied their behavior. What they found was even more confusing than the polite rejections. Humans seemed to be preparing for something. Military production was increasing in every major country. Space agencies were launching more rockets than ever before. Scientists were working on projects that the Council computers could not even identify. Most strange of all, there was no central coordination. Each human group worked on different projects, often competing with each other. Yet somehow, all their efforts seem to be pointing in the same direction. It is like watching 1,000 different orchestras playing different songs, Doctor observed. Yet somehow, when you listen to them all together, they create a symphony. Captain was more worried. They are building weapons, lots of weapons, more than they could possibly need to fight each other. Who are they planning to fight? Engineer asked. Stared out at the blue planet below. For the first time in his long career, he was beginning to suspect that humans knew something the Council did not, something important enough to make them refuse paradise itself. Something that might explain why they were so interested in building weapons that could destroy more than just each other. The surveillance data was overwhelming. For 6 months, the Council ship had watched humanity with the most advanced observation technology in the galaxy. Every conversation, every military movement, every scientific experiment was recorded and analyzed. The results made no sense at all. Ambassador sat in his private office, surrounded by floating screens that showed data from around Earth. Each screen told a different story, but none of them fit together. On one screen, he watched humans fighting a border war in a place called Kashmir. They used simple weapons and old-fashioned tactics. Soldiers crawled through mud and snow, carrying equipment their grandfathers might have recognized. It looked like the primitive warfare the Council expected from a young species. On another screen, he watched the same humans working together to build something in space. They called it the International Space Station, but the Council's deep scans revealed technology that should not exist. Hidden inside the station's ordinary-looking walls were sensors that could detect ships moving faster than light. The power systems used principles that even Council scientists found impressive. How do they do this? Doctor asked, her golden leaves drooping with confusion. They fight with sticks and stones on the ground but build miracles in space. It makes no logical sense. Captain pointed to another screen. Look at this. They spend billions of credits on weapons to fight each other, but then they spend even more money to feed hungry children in countries they are not even allied with. They hate each other and love each other at the same time. Engineer had been studying human manufacturing data. The weapon production numbers are very strange. They are building enough guns and ammunition to fight a war that involves their entire planet. But they are also building things that have no purpose in human warfare. What kind of things? Asked. Electromagnetic pulse generators that could disable electronic equipment across entire continents. Kinetic bombardment systems that could destroy targets from orbit. Energy shields that could protect cities from attack by directed energy weapons. Paused. These are weapons designed to fight an enemy with advanced technology, much more advanced than anything humans possess. The ambassador felt a chill run through his body. Show me the space-based construction. The screens changed to show human activity beyond their planet. What they saw was shocking. Humans had been busier in space than anyone realized. They had built mining stations on asteroids and hidden military bases on the far side of their moon. Most disturbing of all, they had constructed something the Council computers could not identify. It looked like a massive shipyard, hidden behind a collection of asteroids, but the ships being built there were unlike anything in Council records. They were ugly and brutal-looking, covered in weapons and armor plating. More importantly, they were big enough to carry thousands of people and powerful enough to travel between stars. When did they build this? Demanded. The construction began over 50 years ago, replied. They have been working on it since before they invented spaceflight. Somehow, they started building interstellar ships before they figured out how to reach their own moon. This was impossible. No species developed faster-than-light travel before they had mastered their own solar system. The technology was too complex, required too many supporting systems. It should have taken humans centuries to reach this level. Doctor was studying other data. Look at their education systems. Human children learn subjects that most council species do not study until they reach university level. Mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology, all taught as basic requirements. They also teach something called critical thinking that seems designed to make young humans question everything they are told. Question everything, Captain sounded worried, even their own leaders. Especially their own leaders. Human children are taught to distrust authority, to think for themselves, and to always have backup plans. They learn that cooperation is important, but that independence is essential. Doctor paused. It is as if they are training every child to be a leader and a soldier at the same time. Ordered a deeper investigation. If humans were preparing for something, he needed to know what it was. The Council had made contact with over 200 species in their history. They had seen every type of government, every kind of social system, every form of military organization. Nothing had prepared them for humanity. The cultural analysis team worked day and night. They studied human history, literature, movies, and music. What they found was a species obsessed with survival against impossible odds. Human stories were full of small groups fighting against overwhelming enemies. Their heroes were always outnumbered and facing certain defeat. Yet somehow, the heroes always found a way to win. They tell themselves the same story over and over, Doctor observed. Weak beats strong, smart beats powerful, prepared beats surprised. They have convinced themselves that being the underdog is an advantage. But Engineer had discovered something even more disturbing. They have been monitoring our communications for decades. Every message we have sent to other council worlds, every piece of technology we have shared, every piece of information about council history and politics, they have copies of all of it. How is that possible? Demanded. Our communications use quantum encryption that cannot be broken without the proper keys. They did not break the encryption, explained. They built devices that can detect the quantum fluctuations caused by our communications and reconstruct the messages from those patterns. It is a completely different approach to the problem. Instead of trying to unlock our codes, they learn to read the shadows our messages cast on reality itself. The implications were terrifying. If humans could intercept council communications, they knew everything. They knew about every world the Council protected, every species that belonged to the Alliance, every weakness in the galaxy's defenses. They also knew about the threats. Captain's voice was barely a whisper. The Void Fleet. They know about the Void Fleet. The Void Fleet was the galaxy's greatest nightmare. Ancient ships that appeared without warning, consumed entire star systems, and vanished back into the darkness between galaxies. The Council had fought them twice in recorded history. Both times, entire sectors of space had been evacuated, and billions of beings had died before the threat was finally driven back. The Void Fleet was why the Council existed. Individual species could not stand against such a threat. Only by working together, sharing technology and resources, could the galaxy defend itself. The Council had spent centuries preparing for the next Void Fleet attack. But they had never considered that a species might prepare on its own. "Show me the human military exercises again," ordered. The screens displayed footage from around Earth. At first glance, it looked like normal military training. Soldiers practicing combat techniques, pilots learning to fly fighters, sailors conducting war games on the ocean. But when viewed with new understanding, the patterns became clear. Every exercise was designed to fight an enemy with superior technology and numbers. Humans practiced hiding from sensors they did not possess, fighting ships they had never seen, and coordinating attacks across distances their technology could not normally reach. They were practicing to fight the Void Fleet. "How long have they known?" Doctor asked. Engineer checked his data. Based on the construction timeline for the hidden shipyard, they have been preparing for at least 60 Earth years, possibly longer. 60 years. Humans had been getting ready for a war that might not happen for centuries. They had built their entire civilization around the idea that someday, something terrible would come from the stars to destroy them. And they had decided they would be ready. Felt a mixture of admiration and terror. Humanity had not refused council membership out of pride or ignorance. They had refused because joining the council would mean following council rules, accepting council limitations, and trusting in council protection. Humans did not want protection. They wanted to be the ones doing the protecting. "Sir," his assistant called from the doorway, "we are receiving an emergency transmission from Council High Command. Long-range sensors have detected something approaching from the Galactic Rim." Closed his eyes. He already knew what the sensors had found. The Void Fleet was coming. The emergency alert echoed through every corridor of the Council ship. Red lights flashed as crew members rushed to their stations. Ambassador ran toward the command center, his heart pounding with a fear he had not felt in decades. The main display screen showed a sight that haunted the nightmares of every council species. Black shapes moved through space like drops of liquid darkness. They absorbed light instead of reflecting it, making them appear as holes in the universe itself. The Void Fleet had returned. "How many ships?" Captain demanded, his bear-like features twisted with worry. "Preliminary count shows over 300 vessels," the sensor operator replied. "They are moving at 0.7 light speed and will reach the outer edge of this solar system in approximately 6 hours. 300 ships. The last time the Void Fleet had attacked, they had brought 50 vessels and nearly destroyed half the galaxy before being stopped. This was 6 times larger than any previous attack. "Send emergency signals to all Council worlds," ordered. "Request immediate military assistance. Every ship, every weapon, every defense system we can gather." "Sir," the communications officer said quietly, "the nearest Council battle fleet is 12 days away. Even if they left immediately, they could not arrive in time to help." The command center fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. Earth would face the Void Fleet alone, with only the Council observation ship for protection. It would be a massacre. "We have to warn the humans," Doctor said, her golden leaves trembling. "They have the right to know what is coming. Maybe they can evacuate some of their population." Nodded. The warning message was sent immediately, broadcasting on all human frequencies. The message was simple and direct. "The Void Fleet approaches your world. 300 enemy ships will arrive in 6 hours. They consume all life and leave nothing behind. We recommend immediate evacuation of your population. The Council will provide what assistance it can." Earth's response came back in less than 10 minutes. It was not what anyone expected. "Thank you for the warning. Please move your ship to coordinates 47.2, 89.6, 12.4 and maintain safe distance. Recommend you observe from at least 50,000 kilometers. We will handle this." Captain stared at the message in disbelief. "They will handle this. 300 Void Fleet ships. Have they gone insane?" But Engineer was studying his sensors carefully. "Something is happening around Earth. I am detecting massive energy readings from multiple locations." The main screen switched to show Earth and the space around it. What they saw explanation. All around the planet, space itself seemed to be shifting. Areas that had appeared empty now revealed huge structures that had been hidden from view. The objects looked like space stations, but they were larger than most Council cities. "How did they hide those?" the sensor operator whispered. "Our scanners should have detected anything that size." "Stealth technology," replied with amazement in his voice. "But not like anything in Council records. They have found a way to bend electromagnetic radiation around solid objects. They made their battle stations invisible to every type of sensor we know." More structures appeared. Weapons platforms that stretched for kilometers, shield generators that could protect entire continents, and ships that made Council vessels look like toys. Humanity had built a defense network in secret while the Council watched. But the most impressive sight was the fleet of human warships that emerged from behind Earth's moon. They were the ugly, brutal-looking vessels the Council had seen under construction. Up close, they were even more intimidating. Each ship was covered in weapons that no Council scientist could identify. They moved with a grace that suggested incredible power and advanced technology. "How many ships do they have?" asked. Worked his instruments frantically. "I count over 800 vessels, and more are still appearing." 800 ships to fight 300. The numbers were encouraging, but everyone knew that Void Fleet vessels were nearly indestructible. Council historians said that it typically took 5 normal ships to destroy one Void Fleet craft, and even then the cost in lives was enormous. The human fleet moved into formation with mechanical precision. They did not bunch together like Council fleets usually did. Instead, they spread out in a complex pattern that covered millions of cubic kilometers of space. Each ship knew exactly where it needed to be. "They have been practicing this," Captain observed. "This is not something they planned today. They have drilled these maneuvers for years." The Void Fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. Their ships moved forward in a wall of darkness, just as they had done for millions of years. They had destroyed countless civilizations with these same tactics. They had no reason to expect this time would be different. The first human attack came without warning. Streams of energy erupted from the hidden weapons platforms around Earth, but these were not the simple lasers or plasma bolts that Council ships used. These beams seemed to tear holes in space itself, reaching across impossible distances to strike the Void Fleet ships. Several enemy vessels simply vanished. Others staggered as their dark hulls cracked and bled strange light. "What kind of weapons are those?" Doctor gasped. Engineer was analyzing the energy patterns. "I think they are using controlled singularities, tiny black holes that they can aim and fire like bullets. The weapons create gravitational distortions that rip apart the target's atomic structure." The Void Fleet responded as they always did. They accelerated toward Earth, planning to overwhelm the defenders with superior numbers and firepower. Dark energy bolts erupted from their ships, weapons that had destroyed planets and turned stars into cold cinders. But the human fleet was already moving. They did not charge forward to meet the enemy. Instead, they scattered in all directions, using the gravitational fields of planets and moons to change direction in ways that should have been impossible. Void Fleet weapons that could not miss their targets found only empty space where human ships had been moments before. The humans fought like they had learned from studying every Council defeat in history. They used the Void Fleet's own tactics against them, appearing from unexpected angles, striking vital systems, and disappearing before the enemy could respond. Most importantly, they worked together in ways the Council had never imagined. Human ships coordinated their attacks across light-years of space with perfect timing. They shared targeting data, combined their firepower, and supported each other like parts of a single enormous organism. "How do they communicate so quickly?" Captain wondered. "Even our fastest communications take time to cross such distances." "Quantum entanglement networks," replied, his voice full of awe. "They have created instantaneous communication links between every ship in their fleet. They can coordinate attacks in real time across unlimited distances." The battle raged for 3 hours. The Council crew watched in amazement as humans systematically dismantled the Void Fleet. They did not just fight the ancient enemy, they dominated them. Human weapons tore through Void Fleet shields like they were made of paper. Human tactics confused and frustrated enemies that had conquered galaxies. When it was over, the space around Earth was filled with the wreckage of Void Fleet ships. Not one human vessel had been destroyed. A few showed damage from enemy fire, but even those were already being repaired by swarms of automated systems. The Council ship received a communication from Earth. "Threat neutralized. Thank you for the warning. You may resume normal operations." Ambassador sat in his command chair, staring at the debris field that had once been the galaxy's greatest nightmare. His hands shook as he realized what had just happened. Humanity had not just survived the Void Fleet. They had crushed them so completely that the ancient enemy would never threaten the galaxy again. They had done in 3 hours what the Council had failed to do in millions of years. And they had made it look easy. "Sir," his assistant said quietly, "we are receiving a new message from Earth. They are requesting a diplomatic meeting." After 9 months of refusing all contact, humanity was finally ready to talk. The human ship was nothing like Ambassador had expected. Instead of the beautiful, graceful vessels that Council species built, the humans arrived in something that looked like it had been designed for war. The hull was covered in armor plating and weapon systems. Every surface was practical and efficient. There was no decoration, no attempt to impress or intimidate. It was simply a tool built to do a job. But as the ship docked with the Council vessel, could feel the power humming through its walls. This was technology that made Council science look primitive. The airlock opened, and the human delegation stepped aboard. There were 5 of them, each representing different aspects of their species. The leader was a middle-aged woman with gray hair and calm eyes. She wore a simple uniform with no decorations except a small flag patch. Behind her came an older man in military dress, a younger woman who looked like a scientist, a man with the bearing of a diplomat, and someone who seemed to represent their civilian population. "Ambassador," the woman said with a slight smile, "I am Admiral Sarah speaking for Earth's United Defense Council. Thank you for agreeing to meet with us." Struggled to find words. We. That was an incredible display of military power. How did you? When did you? Admiral gestured toward the conference room. "Perhaps we should sit down. There is much to discuss." The human delegation took seats across from the Council representatives. They looked comfortable and relaxed, as if they had just finished a training exercise instead of saving the galaxy from its greatest threat. "We know you have questions," Admiral began. "We have been watching your observations of our world for months. Your confusion has been quite evident in your communications back to Council headquarters." Doctor leaned forward, her golden leaves rustling. "How long have you known about the Void Fleet?" The human scientist, who introduced herself as Dr. Elizabeth Santos, answered. "We detected their first attack on Council space 87 years ago. Our radio telescopes picked up the emergency transmissions from the battle. We realized that something terrible existed in the galaxy, something that could threaten any world, including Earth." "So you began preparing," Captain said. "It was not a question." "We began learning," corrected the military officer general. "We studied every piece of Council communication we could intercept. We analyzed your technology, your tactics, your history. We learned about every species in your alliance and every threat you had faced." Admiral continued the explanation. "What we discovered was that the Council is very good at maintaining peace between civilized species. Your diplomatic methods, your trade networks, your cultural exchange programs, all excellent for building cooperation among people who want to get along. But, since there was more. But you are not designed to fight an enemy that wants to destroy everything," Admiral said simply. "The Council's strength comes from cooperation and consensus. When you face a threat like the Void Fleet, you form committees to study the problem. You debate strategies and seek approval from dozens of different worlds. You try to find diplomatic solutions to military problems." Doctor sounded defensive. "The Council has successfully defended the galaxy twice before." "At enormous cost," Dr. Santos replied. "Our analysis of your historical records shows that each Void Fleet attack resulted in the destruction of hundreds of worlds and billions of deaths. You eventually won because you could absorb losses that would have destroyed any individual species. General spoke up. We decided that was unacceptable. If a threat like that ever came to Earth, we would not wait for committee approval to defend ourselves. We would not sacrifice other worlds to protect our own. We would be ready to fight and win. So you spent nearly a century preparing for a war that might never come? Engineer asked. The human diplomat, Ambassador James Martinez, smiled. We prefer to think of it as insurance. We hoped we would never need to use what we built, but if the time came, we wanted to be ready. Was beginning to understand. This is why you refused to join the council. You knew that membership would limit your ability to prepare. Admiral nodded. Council law forbids military buildup beyond what is needed for self-defense. Your definition of self-defense would not have allowed us to build what we built. More importantly, council decision-making processes would have slowed our response time from hours to months. But you could have shared your technology with us, Doctor protested. Together, we could have built defenses for every world. Could we? Dr. Santos asked gently. How many council committee meetings would it have taken to approve our weapons designs? How many species would have objected to building aggressive military technology? How long would it have taken to overcome the political objections and bureaucratic delays? The silence that followed answered the question. Everyone in the room knew that the council's democratic processes, which worked so well for peaceful cooperation, would have made rapid military development impossible. General leaned forward. We studied your records of previous Void Fleet attacks. Do you know how long it took the Council to approve emergency military production during the last war? 14 months, admitted reluctantly. The fleet we destroyed today was built and deployed in less than 6 hours, Admiral said. We had been ready for decades, but we still needed time to position our forces and coordinate our response. 14 months would have been 14 months too long. The human civilian representative, Dr. Maria, spoke for the first time. We also studied council social systems. Your species have achieved internal peace by eliminating competition and conflict. Everyone cooperates because cooperation is rewarded and conflict is discouraged. That is the foundation of civilization, Captain said. It is one foundation, Doctor agreed, but it creates a society that has forgotten how to fight. When you face an enemy that wants to destroy you, cooperation alone is not enough. You need people who remember how to be dangerous. Ambassador Martinez added, humans have never stopped being dangerous. We fight each other constantly, not because we hate each other, but because conflict makes us stronger. Every war teaches us new ways to fight. Every competition pushes us to improve. Every argument forces us to defend our ideas. You see chaos where we see training, Admiral explained. Every human conflict, from playground arguments to international wars, is practice for the day when we might face something that wants to destroy all of humanity. Was quiet for a long moment. So what happens now? The Void Fleet is gone. Will you finally join the Council? Admiral exchanged glances with her colleagues. We have a different proposal. We would like to offer the Council our protection. Your protection? Doctor sounded confused. The Void Fleet was just one threat, General explained. Our scouts have detected others in deep space, things that make the Void Fleet look small. The galaxy is not a safe place, and it is about to become much more dangerous. Dr. Santos activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy. Red dots marked various locations. Unknown energy signatures here, and here. Possible artificial constructs the size of solar systems. Signal patterns that suggest intelligence but not biology. And movement from other galaxies that suggests something very large is heading this way. We believe the Void Fleet was just the first wave, Admiral said. A scouting force sent ahead of something much worse, and when that something arrives, the galaxy will need protectors who are ready to fight. felt a chill run down his spine. And you are offering to be those protectors. We are offering to be what we have always been, Ambassador Martinez replied. Dangerous when we need to be. We will not join the council because that would limit our ability to do what must be done. But we will defend council worlds as if they were our own. What do you want in return? Captain asked. Admiral smiled. Nothing. The council has spent thousands of years building something beautiful, a civilization based on cooperation, understanding, and peace. That is worth protecting. But, Doctor added, we will protect it our way. No committees to approve our actions. No diplomatic delays when action is needed. No rules about what weapons we can build or what methods we can use. You want us to trust you to be our guardians without any oversight? Doctor asked. We want you to be what you are best at being, Admiral replied. Build your beautiful worlds. Create your art and music and poetry. Trade with each other and learn from each other. Explore the peaceful parts of the galaxy and make friends with new species. General's voice was hard but kind. And let us worry about the things that want to kill you. The council delegation sat in stunned silence. Everything they thought they knew about civilization, diplomacy, and galactic politics had just been turned upside down. But as looked at the debris field visible through the conference room window, the remains of the most dangerous enemy the galaxy had ever known, he realized that maybe humans understood something the council had forgotten. Sometimes the price of peace was having someone willing to fight for it. We will need to discuss this with the council high command, said finally. Admiral nodded. Of course, but while you are discussing it, we will be watching the galaxy, and if anything threatens the worlds you have built, we will handle it. She stood up and the other humans followed. The galaxy is under new management now. Try not to worry about it. As the human delegation left, stared out at the stars. For the first time in his life, he felt truly safe. Not because the galaxy had become less dangerous, but because humanity had become its guardians. And they were very good at their job.